If you're looking to start an online community or looking for an alternative to Facebook groups, then you're in the right place, because in today's video, I'm going to be walking you through how to create an online community using Circle, which is the platform that I am using to create my own online community for my web design business. So in today's video, you'll learn how to create a community, how to organize your community into space groups and spaces, how to invite free and paid members into your community, and then as a bonus, we'll look at some other ways of utilizing Circle for your business, other than just using it to host an online community. I've seen some really creative use cases for it. So let's first get started with a quick demo of the interface and what students will see inside of a Circle community. So here we are inside the Circle community that I'm setting up. And starting over here on the left, we have the navigation. So you'll notice that Circle organizes itself into space groups and spaces. And so here I've created a welcome space group, and inside of it, I have a Start Here tab. And this includes a welcome video showing them how to navigate the group, and then also giving them the community guidelines and instructions to then head over to the Introduce Yourself space, where they can talk about where they're from and what they're looking to get out of the group. It's a nice way to get people engaged right off the bat. I also have an announcement space where I create posts about all the latest Squarespace announcements and also group related announcements. So you have a lot of flexibility in organizing your course just based on the different types of space groups and spaces that you set up inside of it. In addition to the spaces and space groups, you also have a links section where you can put relevant links. So I have the links to download the app so people can access the community from their phone, and then also a link to my YouTube channel. Up top, there's a search bar. Makes it really easy to find content that you might have seen but can't remember how to get to. Very, very handy. And it's not just posts. You can also search by comments, lessons, events, and members. Up here on the right, these are just your notification settings. So if new mentions or posts have been posted, this is where you're going to find out about it. There's also the ability to direct message people inside of Circle. And so this is where you'll manage your direct messages. And then there's a bookmarks feature. So if you want to save a post for later, you can bookmark it, and then it'll show up in your bookmarks tab. And finally, we have the account information. So you can view your profile, edit it, control your notification settings, and sign out. So the interface is extremely easy to use, and it's extremely easy to navigate for course users, which is one of the reasons that I love Circle. So now that we're familiar with the interface, let's go ahead and begin setting up a community from scratch. To get started, head over to circle.so. If you get a lot of value out of this video, please consider using my affiliate link in the description. I'll get a small commission and it'll help support this channel. So let's get started by clicking Get Started. And the first thing that it'll have us do is create a name for our community. Next, we have to decide whether we want this to be a public or private community. This can be changed in the future, so it's not set in stone, but I'm gonna go ahead and make this a private community. So I don't want anyone to be able to access it. I want them to have to be invited into this community. Next, go through the process of telling them a little bit about yourself. I'm gonna skip the style of template, and I'm just gonna start with the basic theme. And once you complete the setup, it'll ask you if you want to schedule your free demo. I'm going to go ahead and click No Thanks. And it welcomes us with this Getting Started guide, which is really helpful. It walks you through all the steps that you need to do in order to be ready to make your community public. This Getting Started page will always be there, even if you click to something else, and then you can always click back to it. But once you hit the X, it'll be gone for good. So I recommend not closing it until you're done with all of these steps, and then you can go ahead and hit the X. But the first thing that we'll do is hit continue to complete our profile, and it'll open up this side panel. So we can upload a photo, we can add our full name, we can add a headline, which will appear below our name, and then we can also write a bio, which I will do right now. Next, we have the option to make the email publicly visible or not, and I'm gonna leave that unchecked. I don't want my email to be publicly visible, but I do want my profile to show in the member directory, and that way people can find me there. Next, you can go ahead and add some social links. I'll just add my website for now. And then you have a permissions toggle, and you can prevent members from direct messaging you if you want. but I'm going to leave this unchecked because I do want them to be able to. And next we'll hit save. Whoops, it was giving me a website URL not valid, and that's because we need the full URL, so I have to throw in the HTTPS. I'll go ahead and hit save again, and there we go. So I now have the profile completed. Next we'll go ahead and customize the branding. The branding options are pretty straightforward. You can choose a brand color. Since my brand color is yellow, I'm going to choose kind of a gold color. Next, you can upload a logo, which would replace the text here. And then the community icon is what appears in the sidebar here. And this sidebar is a community switcher. So if people are part of other Circle communities, they can easily switch to them here. Since I don't have any graphics pre-created, I'm going to go ahead and skip that step and just leave my brand color. So next, we're going to confirm community access. And again, there are two different types of communities that you can create: a public community for anyone to see, or a private community where members have to receive an invite in order to be able to access the community. And I do want mine to be private, so I'm going to go ahead and just mark this step complete. And then it'll move us on to the setting up our spaces section. So for organizing your community, as I mentioned before, you organize it into space groups and spaces. So it already gives us a default space group here. So I'm going to click these three dots and then edit the space group. And I'm going to name this welcome. So when creating a space group, we have some options here that we can toggle on and off. So the first is hiding the member count. So whether we want to show how many members are part of this group or not, I'm going to go ahead and hide the member count because I don't think that really is that important for people to know. Next, we can hide this group from non-space members if we wanted to. So let's say we were starting a group that's this super secret club of just the elite few that are chosen to be part of this thing. We might not want other people to find out about it. So in this case, it would be beneficial to hide it from people that aren't a part of this space group. But because this is my welcome space, it doesn't apply. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that toggled off. Next, we can only show the joined spaces in the sidebar. Again, it doesn't apply because everyone that joins the community, they're all going to be part of this welcome space group. This comes into play more if you are creating different sort of groups of people joining some spaces and others won't be part of that space. But again, this doesn't apply to our welcome space group. Next, we can allow members to create spaces inside of this group. And that seems like it could kind of get out of hand if members are just able to kind of have free roam to adding spaces if they want to. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that toggled off as well. Next, we can automatically add members to new spaces within the group. I'm going to toggle that on. So let's say I launch my community and in my welcome tab, I have a start here tab. And let's say I have 50 people join. And then later on, I want to add another space within this space group. Well, I would like to automatically add the members to new spaces within this group. So that way I don't have to manually enroll them. But you might want to toggle that off if you need more granular control. Maybe you're creating a private space that you wouldn't necessarily want to add all members to. And then finally, we can automatically add members to the group when they join a space inside of it. I'm going to leave this toggled off. Finally, I'm going to click Save Changes, and now we have our welcome space group. And the next thing that we have to do is add spaces inside of this space group. So I'm going to click Add Space, and there's different types that you can choose from. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and add a posts type and click Next. Here, I'm going to create the name. And again, I want this to be inside the welcome space group. In terms of the access for this space, I want this to be open. So I want anyone in my community to be able to see and join this space. You also have the ability to make it private. So only members that are invited would be able to see it, and non-members would see a lock page. And then you can also do a secret space. So this is invited members only, but non-members, they won't even see a locked page. Like it just won't even appear for them. So again, as you're getting more granular in the type of community that you're setting up, some of these things might be applicable, but for me, because I'm just creating a general start here page that I want everyone to be able to see and join, I'm going to leave the access at open. And then next you can add new post notifications. So I'm going to leave these off because there's only going to be like a single post in the start here, which is going to be my post letting them know how to navigate the community. So it doesn't really apply, but it is pretty cool that we can set up specific notifications for different spaces. I'll hit start here, and now we've created our space. So the next thing that we need to do is create our first post. And it's really easy to create a post. So I've just clicked that link there. Whenever you're in a space, you can also click the button in the top right, and that'll create a post as well. So for the title, I'm going to say welcome to the Pro community. And then you can give them a little welcome message as well. When adding posts inside of a space, there's so many different options that you can choose from. There's tons of different formatting options. You can add images, files, audios, video, PDFs, GIFs. You can embed things. There's a bunch of different options to choose from. You can also link to files. You can link to other posts, lessons, or spaces. And then you can also create polls as well. So I have a quick welcome message here. And what I recommend doing is embedding a video that walks people through how to navigate the community. And the easiest way to do this is just to record a screen share with something like Loom. And then you can click the video icon and just embed the video directly into the post. So in addition to the video, it's also a great idea to put community guidelines in this post. And then you might also want to give them an action step to head to a different space to introduce themselves. Now, if you hit /, it brings up a bunch of different formatting options, which is cool. So for the community guidelines, I want to create a bulleted list and just list off a couple guidelines. Great, so I'm going to go ahead and publish this post. And there's a couple things that we can do in terms of the formatting to make this a little bit more welcoming. Right now we have a lot of different information on this post, and it makes it look more like something that'll get lost in the feed rather than an instructional post. So we can hide this information to make this post more of a welcome message rather than a post. So if you click the 3 dots and then edit the post, we can go to this settings icon and we can hide the meta info, we can hide the comments, we can hide the likes, and we can disable truncation. And then we're also going to pin the post to the top, and we're going to hide it from featured areas. So I always do this with instructional type of posts because we wouldn't want this to appear in the home feed. We'll hit done and then save, and you'll see that it formats it in a much better manner, and it'll always be pinned to the top. So if there were other posts in this space, this one would always be at the top. So we've created a space group and we've also created a space. Let's look at some of the different space types that you can create. So if I head back to the space and click on Start here, I can go to Customize. We set it to be a feed, but we also have an option to do a list or a card. So here's an example from Circle's own community. So this is what the posts feed looks like. You can see it's very similar to like Facebook groups where you just have a feed of posts one after the other. The list type, it appears more like this, where it's more kind of truncated, where you just get the title and the picture, and it appears in a list like this. And then cards appear like this. So rather than being in a feed, it's more of items in a grid. So depending on the organization structure or the style that you're going for, you're going to be using each of these different types in different spaces. And just some final design recommendations. I really enjoy having an image at the top of the spaces. I just think it makes the community look much more professional. And the way that you can do that is click on your space name and then update your cover photo. And so here you can choose your cover image. It tells you the recommended file size. And I just, again, think it makes it add that little touch and make it look much more professional. So let's head back to the Getting Started tab. Now we can choose our default space. So this is the space that members will land on when visiting the community. Now, let's go ahead and go to Settings and then Home, and we can choose the space that we want to be the home page. Now, if you enable Home, it's going to create a personalized feed of posts from all of the different spaces on your site, and it's going to put it into a home tab. And this is what people are going to see when they come back to the community. So I definitely recommend toggling on the Enable Home. Next, you can control some logged in defaults. So you can show a welcome banner, and I actually like doing that. So I recommend enabling this and uploading an image and doing a little welcome message. So rather than just seeing a feed of posts, I've enabled the welcome banner and I have this little image here welcoming people back to the community and then letting them know, hey, this is the feed where you're going to see all of the latest information. So when a member comes back to the community, we want to make sure that they are landing on the home feed. And we can set a default page for new members as well. So we would rather have them start at the Start Here page when they first log into the community, and that way they're getting that instruction video, reading the community guidelines, and then knowing that they should head over to the Introduce Yourself tab so that they can introduce themselves. Next, we have some logged out defaults, and because I have a private community, this doesn't apply to me. This is if your community is public and someone is logged out, what do they see when they go to the landing page, but they're logged out? So this doesn't apply to me because I have a private community, but if you have a public one, then you might want to set these up. Next, we have some meta tags. I'm not going to worry about these. I'm not super worried about SEO for my community because, again, it is a private community. I'm going to hit Save Changes, and then we can head back to the home page, go back to Getting Started, and mark this as complete. Next, you can set up community notification defaults if you want to, but I'm going to go ahead and mark that as complete. Next, if you want to charge for access to your community, you can set up a paywall. But for me, mine is private and I'm selling the membership through Squarespace. So once someone purchases on Squarespace, I then send them an invite link to the community. So I'm not going to set up a paywall because I'm handling the payment through a third party. And I have a whole video on how I manage my community between Squarespace and Circle. So I definitely recommend giving that video a watch if you're going to be using a third party to collect payment. So we can skip that. So next, let's talk about inviting people to our community. So I'm going to click on the community name here, and then I'm going to go to members, and then I'm going to click on invitation links. So the way that we can invite people to our community once they purchase on a third party is to, once they purchase, send them a welcome email with the invitation link. So I'm just going to leave this name as invitation link. For these spaces, I'm going to leave that blank because that is optional. And for the space groups, I want them to be added to all of the space groups in the community. So right now we only have one space group, but if I had a number of different space groups, I could add all of those different space groups and the member will automatically be added to them. So next we can tag members with this invite link if we wanted to. It's not something that I need to do, but if you're going to be setting up, again, a more complex implementation, you might want to keep track of certain people that have signed up with certain invitation links. And then we can set the default space for new members. And again, I want that to be the Start Here page. Next, we can create our invitation link. And now we can copy it and use this link to invite members to our community by just including it in a welcome email after they purchase. So we have created our community. We've gone over space groups and spaces. We've learned how to invite people to our community. The last thing I want to go over is some general settings for the community. So I'm going to click on the community name and go to settings. And this is where you can update some of the community information. So you can always change your community name here. You can also change your community URL. And then this is where you can toggle if you want it to be a private or a public community. Now, I'm going to, of course, leave this as a private community, as I mentioned before. So this is what the community will look like to someone who is not a member. This is the login screen. And they only have the option to sign in. But if someone hasn't purchased community access yet, you might want to give them the ability to get to that page where they can purchase it. And so that's what this field is. So you can give them a link saying not a member, sign up here, and give them the link to where they can purchase a membership. Next, we have the brand color. I already changed that in the first step, but you can also change your brand color if someone were to enter dark mode. So that's kind of nice. And then you have your logo and icon upload. And then you can change your reply to email if you want to. So next we have some important defaults. So if you want to enable the community switcher, so that's that panel on the left-hand side where if someone's part of multiple communities, they can easily switch between them. So you can enable that or disable that. I'm going to disable it for my community. Next, you can allow members to access it from the app or not. So I am going to leave that checked. You can show the app download banner on mobile browsers and outbound emails. I'm going to toggle that off. And next, you can allow members to deactivate their account if you want them to. I'm going to toggle that off because I want to be in charge of when someone ends their subscription, I want to be the one that manually removes them. I wouldn't want them to remove themselves ahead of time. Next, I'm going to disable allowing search engines to index user profiles. I don't think that applies because my community is private, but just in case, I want to make sure that that is disabled. And then next, we can truncate post and comment body and email notifications. I'm going to go ahead and leave that toggled off because that's how it was in default. We have some call to action customization if you want to customize how the links appear. I'm going to leave that toggled off. You can customize your terms of service and have people, agree to terms before signing up to your community. You can hide emails on member profiles. I'm going to actually toggle that on because I think people just wouldn't necessarily want their emails to be public. Next, you can allow members to go live. If you have a pro plan or higher, there's native live streaming in Circle, and you can allow members then to go live whenever they wanted to. I'm going to leave that off. And then I do want to enforce email verification for new signups, and that just makes people, have to get like a code in their email to which they enter, and it just verifies their email before they sign up. So I'm going to leave that on. So those are the main community settings that you're going to want to go over. So that is a look at setting up your Circle community. And in the beginning, I did mention that there were other ways that you could use Circle for your business. And so I just want to highlight that I have seen Circle used for a virtual summit that I was actually a part of as a speaker. And it was a really cool implementation. So basically they created a space group for each day, and then they had a space for each speaker that was speaking. And then all I had to do as a speaker was record my video ahead of time. I sent it to the person that was running the summit, and they uploaded it to a post inside of my speaker space. And then people could ask questions about my presentation, and I could engage with them in the comments of that post. So I thought that was a really cool, unique use case for Circle that it's not advertised as. It's very straightforward and easy to both host as an admin, but also navigate as a user. So a lot of flexibility comes with its simplicity. I sort of think of it as Chipotle. There's not a lot of ingredients, but there's a lot of different things that you can make with it. If you found this video helpful, consider using my affiliate link in the description below to start your 14-day free trial. All right, well, that's it for this video. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.